A phone buzzes during focused work, and soon the original intention fades away. Distractions like these can significantly reduce productivity. It is important to minimize such interruptions for optimal work. Setting boundaries and using tools can help manage these disruptions. Consistent practice in maintaining focus leads to better outcomes. Many find that turning off notifications temporarily helps. Establishing a routine that limits phone use during work hours is beneficial. Encouraging colleagues to do the same can create a more focused environment. Over time, this can lead to improved work quality and efficiency. Consistency in such practices is key to long-term success. Uncomfortable states such as anxiety or boredom act as internal triggers that push the mind to seek quick relief. All motivation stems from a desire to escape discomfort, so distraction often begins as an emotional avoidance strategy. When you blame only screens, you overlook the feelings that actually drive the hand to click. This denial keeps the loop repeating, as the same irritation will reappear during hard work. A behaviour professor used a treadmill desk and tracking bracelet, but kept skipping exercise to check messages. She learned to notice the anxiety, name it as a feeling, and watch it fade without succumbing to it. Mastering internal triggers turns focus into a skill, as urges become information rather than commands. Once the inner push is handled, external temptations lose their power, and traction becomes easier to maintain. Use a distraction tracker by writing the time, the task, and the feeling each time you veer off. Then practice surfing the urge by paying attention to body sensations until the emotion weakens on its own. You cannot label something a distraction unless you decide in advance what matters most to you today. Timeboxing means scheduling specific blocks for work, relationships, and rest that you consider most important. A calendar-based plan reduces endless choice, as each block has a start, end, and clear intention. It also replaces vague guilt with evidence, since you can see whether your actions matched your schedule. One routine is planning the week in a template, then adjusting daily blocks when surprises arise. Another routine is syncing calendars with a partner, making shared commitments explicit instead of assumed. Making time for traction expresses your values in behaviour, ensuring attention is spent where it supports long-term priorities. This approach treats focus as a promise, as the plan clearly states what you will do and when. Schedule time for internal trigger work, including breaks, meals, and decompression to prevent impulsive escapes. Review each day by asking if you did what you said you would do, then refine tomorrow's blocks accordingly. External triggers are environmental cues such as pings and banners, or colleagues that prompt immediate action. To counter these, ask yourself, is this trigger serving me, or am I serving it? Unchecked cues can fragment the day, making deep work rare and increasing stress as tasks remain unfinished. In groups, constant interruptions create more coordination noise, so teams often trade real progress for reactive messaging. In a hospital unit, frequent interruptions were linked to nurses sometimes giving the wrong medication. Even a silent phone in view can drain cognitive capacity, as the brain keeps inhibiting automatic responses. Removing unnecessary cues supports focus, as fewer prompts mean fewer moments where willpower must fight temptation. This makes the system more realistic, as focus becomes the default state rather than an endless self-control battle. Batch communication by setting specific times for email and messaging, and mute non-essential notifications everywhere. Subscribe to continue learning how to redesign triggers at work and home, ensuring your best plans thrive. When temptation is predictable, pre-commitments remove choice by making distraction harder, costly, or inconsistent with identity. 3 types of pacts achieve this. Effort pacts add friction, price pacts add a penalty, and identity pacts change self-image. These tools work by shifting decisions into advanced planning when thinking is calm and goals are clear. They also reduce bargaining with yourself in the moment, which often fails when internal triggers feel intense. A writer who kept wasting mornings installed software that blocked the internet, so starting work required fewer decisions. Another person made a deposit-based commitment, so getting distracted carried a real financial cost they could not ignore. Identity pacts go further by turning focus into who you are, making saying no feel natural. Using an Indistractable label and sharing it with others reinforces follow-through through repetition and social expectation. Choose one pact for one recurring distraction, then set the rule clearly, like no internet during a planned focus block. Combine pacts with timeboxing, so the block has protection, and revisit the pact after setbacks with self-compassion. Attention is a social resource, and attention poverty emerges when people are physically together but mentally elsewhere. Close friendships are the bedrock of health and well-being, so distraction erodes something fundamental. When conversations compete with devices, empathy diminishes, misunderstandings increase, and shared plans feel less reliable. Loneliness carries serious risks, as research has linked it with an increased likelihood of dying earlier. A simple pattern is two partners both checking phones at night, then feeling ignored without discussing expectations. A better pattern is timeboxing with your partner, agreeing on shared blocks, and treating those blocks as promises. When one person becomes indistractable, it sets a model that makes it easier for others to protect their focus. Shared norms reduce conflict, as people know when they will have each other's attention and when they should not interrupt. Pick one relationship ritual, like a device-free meal or an evening walk, and schedule it as a form of traction. If messages must wait, use simple signals such as an auto-reply during focus blocks to reduce social friction. Distraction becomes manageable when it is treated as a system of triggers, plans, and commitments rather than willpower. The core shift is moving from reactive attention to intentional traction, where actions align with what truly matters. First, learn to spot internal triggers and handle discomfort so that urges no longer drive behavior in secret. Second, timeboxing turns values into a calendar, making traction visible and distractions measurable. Third, reducing external triggers minimizes interruptions, allowing focus blocks to survive and mistakes to become less likely. Fourth, pacts add friction, cost, and identity, so predictable temptations lose their power over time. These changes compound into calmer work, more present relationships, and a reputation for follow-through you can trust. Start with 1 week of tracking internal triggers and 1 week of timeboxing, then add one trigger change. When progress slips, return to the next scheduled block and keep the promise of showing up again. Subscribe to continue building an indistractable life with practical exercises that turn intention into consistent daily action.